Today I'm out here in the middle of what used to be a bunch of cornfields where on the evening of July 19th, 2016, a young lady was riding her bike home but never made it. You'll never guess how the police catch the suspect. It's mind-blowing. Let's get into it.
Headlights on the highway. If you only knew, being back here always makes me think of you. When the world is sleeping, do you think of me? With the road it's coming back again.
Good evening. We start tonight with sad news in Fulton County. Police believe they have found the body of Sierah Joughin.
So I'm in Metamora, Ohio, which is nothing but cornfields. Well, there's a few houses. There's actually a bunny rabbit running over here in the field, but very nice rural area, very few houses, small population, but really nice area. It's very peaceful. A lot of backcountry roads. But we're here today to talk about Sierah Joughin, who on February 11th, 1996, was born to her mother Sheila and her father Tom in Sylvania, Ohio, which is just a few miles away from here in Metamora. By all accounts, Sierah was full of life. She never lost an argument. She loved animals, and her mom says that she was the perfect child, stating basically that she was very, very easy to raise. All the videos and things I've seen of Sierra, she looks like the most wonderful person ever, just so much fun. She had a lot of friends. She had a terrific boyfriend. She had a great family, great life, until the evening of July 19th of 2016, everything changed. So because it's so extremely windy out here, I'm going to tell parts of this story from my vehicle. I think that's the only way you're going to be able to hear me today. It's extremely windy, and this is a very rural area with nothing to break up the wind. Sierra decides she wants to go for a bike ride on this night. About 5 p.m., she tells her mom, I'm going to go for a bike ride. Her mom didn't want her to go. Her mom wanted her to stay home so they could talk about college. But Sierra wanted to go. She really wanted to go. She just got this purple bike. She wanted to go for a ride. So, okay, off she goes. She decides to take the 6.5-mile trip to her boyfriend Josh's house. She gets there, everything's good to go. Okay, no problems. She stays for a while and decides it's time she needs to head back home. Josh, being the gentleman he is, decides to accompany her. So he jumps on his motorcycle and her bicycle, and they start to head home, or toward Sierra's house. About 1.5 miles in, Sierra's telling Josh, go back home. I can handle it. I'm fine. You don't need to follow me. But Josh kept following her. He actually posted a story on his Snapchat of them two riding. And another 1.5 miles goes by, and she's telling Josh, go back home, I'm just fine. So he eventually gives in. He said, okay, I'm not going to win this battle. I'll head back home. He gives her a hug and a kiss. He goes his way, she goes her way. Only, he doesn't hear from her for the rest of the night or ever again. So we are coming up on the house right now where Josh lived and where Sierra would have rode her bike to that day, and actually from. So this is the house right here. This is the house that Sierra would have rode to and back from again on the day she disappeared. So we are on RS right now, Township Road RS, which is the road they would have taken before they split off. And they split pretty close here. We're going to take you there. So here we are at the corner of County Road RS and 10-2. This is where Josh and Sierra would have split. He would have went that way on his motorcycle back home, and Sierra would have went that way on her bicycle. So Sierra doesn't make it home that night. Her boyfriend Josh starts texting her around 11 o'clock or so, realizes that she never texted him to say that she got home okay. And he tries several times, no answer. He's starting to get worried because he knows this is out of the ordinary for her. So he calls her mom and says, hey, I can't seem to reach Sierra. Have you heard from her? And mom says no. So mom calls her mom, which is Sierra's grandma, where Sierra was staying for the summer, in between school semesters. And grandma goes out, looks in the barn or the shed they have, and says, no, her bike's not in here. So that right there is Sierra's grandparents' house. That's where she was staying that summer while taking a break from college. This was her grandparents' house. Now her room would have been right there in the middle, top floor, and her bike would have been in that shed back there. That's where she kept her bike, in that shed back there. Now, this here is her mother's house. This is where the rest of the family was, right here. So right here, this is where the rest of the family lived. So the family knows something is up at this point. Josh decides to retrace her path home from his house to see if maybe she's laying in a ditch somewhere. Maybe she fell and hurt herself and she needs help or something. Mom, Sheila, decides to head over to the neighboring county fire department to see if she can maybe spot her on the way there or get some help. So she heads over to the Lyons Fire Department, and when she pulls in, there's a deputy there. She gives the deputy the information. The deputy calls it in, and immediately the search is on for Sierra. And here is the fire department that Sheila would have came to for help that evening. Around 11 o'clock p.m. on that evening, a deputy was coming through here, driving very slow. Now keep in mind, this was miles and miles and miles of corn stalks, okay? 6 to 8 feet tall. He came through here slowly, very slowly with his light on, just looking, and he notices an area where there's corn stalks broken and flattened, and he said, that doesn't look right. Something's not right. So upon closer inspection, he gets out with his flashlight, walks back about 3 rows, and sees something kind of flashing in the corn stalks. And as he gets closer, he realizes it's a reflector from a bike, and it was that of Sierra's bike. Somebody had hit her bike back here. Now, also with her bike were some strange objects. Men's sunglasses, a sock, and some car fuses. Now that'll come into play a little bit later in the story, but right here is where she was abducted, which is 4/10 of a mile from where she was going. You can see her grandparents' house from here. 4/10 of a mile is all she had to go, and she never made it. Right here is where her bike was found. And this is where she is buried out here. Beautiful, beautiful monument. Sierah Catherine Joughin, February 11th, 1996 to July 22nd, 2016, affectionately known as C. Beautiful monument. Nice bench, beautiful decorations, flowers, wind chimes. Nice quiet cemetery. So during this search also, a guy riding down the road finds a helmet in the middle of the road. He thought maybe it fell off somebody's bike or fell out of somebody's truck. So he sticks it in his truck. He takes it. He says, hey, that might be a good fit for my son. And the next morning, he hears about the search for Sierah and turns the helmet in, which he didn't know at the time, but it had blood in it. So now they have evidence, their first piece of evidence and their first clue as to what may have happened. Now, Josh is a suspect, of course, immediately, but he's ruled out pretty much right away. And police start canvassing the area. There's not many houses out here. It's very rural. But they start going door to door. Have you seen this girl who was riding her bike? And they get to a certain house, and the deputy knows this guy, and he warns the FBI people. He says, hey, look, this guy's a talker. He's not all there. You know, we've had run-ins with this guy before. His name's James Worley. He lives five miles down the road from where Sierah was abducted. And this guy's a scumbag. He's extremely rude to them. And he invites them in, and he likes to talk. He's talking, and he's saying a heck of a lot.
Who are you?
Yeah, we work on that violent crime task force.
Okay. So,
And I'm with the state.
okay. So you guys got some suspicions for something here. So you're going to tell me that this is all under the guise of just checking every household. Yep. And you're not here for any particular reason.
There's a young lady that's
I'm not out there killing chicks, dude. I don't have relationships. I mean, I'm in fact trying to get one started online a little bit right now. But, and she's been out here. And guess what? She went home alive.
Is there anybody in the house but your mother?
Just my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why we couldn't go in and look?
What part of the house do you want to look at?
We'd like to look through the whole house.
I haven't killed anybody yet. Get that straight.
Well, believe it or not, being cooperative was always good.
Yeah, right. Look. Killed by a psychopath. I can't shot you up.
Nah, I'm too quick for that. I don't think so. You're saying you killed before and you know...
I'm just saying, sir, that's not cool to say.
He goes on to tell the police that his motorcycle had broken down on Township Road 6. And when this happened, he had left behind some items. And these items just happened to be a pair of men's sunglasses, some fuses, and a screwdriver. And he also said that when his bike broke down, it happened right near an area where there was a bicycle stashed in the cornfields. So he tells them that he touched these bikes, or bike rather. I think he said bikes. I think he said there was two and he took one. So he's telling the FBI and the local authorities that his fingerprints are going to be on this bike. And his stuff is there at the abduction scene. So this guy does everything he can to basically say he was there. And then they keep trying to leave. And he keeps telling them, here, you want to search my house? You want to search this? You want to search my shed? Come on, let's search my barn. And they go out. They say, okay. And they start searching, and they find some things that he probably didn't want them to find, because he starts changing the subject and Then he says, "Oh, guys, it's really hot in here. Let's get out of here."
Let's get out of here. It's hot, man. There's nothing in here. Come on, you got another section over here. Okay.
And they say, "Well, you know, what is it? What are these items?" There was some kind of green wooden, I don't know what it was, but it had like women's underwear and panties, pantyhose, sexual type toys and things like that in there. And they were asking about that, and he tells them that he's starting his own adult entertainment business from his shed, or his barn rather. From this point, they decide to go get a search warrant and come back. So this right here would be the Worley property. James Worley lived here with his mother and his brother, and this barn right here, I believe, was the one he did like automotive work out of. Then there was another big barn over here, which was where he did whatever he did to whoever he did it. And then on the left side over here was the house. The house would have been right over here to the left. But yeah, this is where they came that night and talked to him, and he basically did everything but put the handcuffs on himself. But this was his property. And then after his arrest, Sierra's family got this property in a civil suit. So they now own this property. And not long after that, they tore down that barn that Sierra was in, which would have been located right over here. And this is a mere 5 miles down the road from where Sierra was abducted. So he would have been up and down this road every day. So James Worley here is acting very suspicious to the police and FBI. Now, he had previously been jailed in 1990 for, he knocked a woman off a bike using his vehicle, and then went over to her and said, "Oh, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then once he got to her, he handcuffed one hand and tried to kidnap her. He put her in his truck, and she fought back like crazy, and he held a screwdriver to her throat and told her to shut up or he'd kill her. And well, she fought back. She jumps out of his car, and there just happened to be a motorcycle coming at that time, and she jumped on the back of this motorcycle and told the motorcyclist to take off. "This guy's trying to kill me." So from that, he gets 4 to 10 years in prison, but gets out after 3 by his own petition. He spends 3 years in prison for attempting to kidnap this woman. And she actually, Robin Gardner was her name, she actually testified against him at Sierra's case. Then years later, he's jailed again in 2000 for cultivating marijuana plants and possessing weapons while on disability. Those are both felonies, and he was released in 2002. So after a search warrant is served and a witness comes forward stating that they've seen James Worley's van leaving the abduction site, and they also put his cell phone in that same exact area based off of cell phone towers, with all of that compelling evidence, they finally arrest James Worley in connection with Sierra's abduction. So around 6 p.m. on the night that James Worley is arrested, her remains are found just about 1.5 miles from his house, right here. They initially went to the other side of the road here because there was a disturbance in the cornfield. Now keep in mind, this cornfield would have been full, both sides, 6 to 8 feet tall corn stalks for miles and miles and miles. So they initially look on this side and see some type of disturbance, say, okay, it was something else. It had nothing to do with the case here. And they walk in the street and look across, and they find a disturbance over here. in the corn. So right past this pole, they walk back about 3 rows and they find a shallow grave where Sierra was buried. She was buried right back here in a shallow grave just to the left of this pole right here. And this is where she was found. When Sierra was found, she was hogtied and had a gag in her mouth, and she also had an adult diaper on. Now that gag had been pushed so hard in her mouth that it actually chipped a tooth. And once the coroner did the autopsy, it was determined that she had died by asphyxiation from that gag. After DNA testing, Sierra's DNA was found on a piece of duct tape and an air mattress at James Worley's property in his barn. At that point, he was also charged with her murder and was found guilty on March 28, 2018, of 17 of the original 19 charges, including aggravated murder. He was sentenced to death and had appealed that death penalty twice, prolonging his execution. Well, the final appeal was denied by the court, and he is now set to be executed on May 20th of 2025. Even after his conviction and overwhelming evidence, this guy still sits in court and tries to deny what he did. He's trying to make excuses and make it sound like somebody else did it.
First and foremost, I want to say that myself, my family, everyone that I know is heartbroken for the Joughin family. Make no mistake. Now, the person who used my helmet, who found it after I lost it, I truly believe she was attacked, and then my big, goofy shows up with my body.
The court orders that James D. Worley is hereby sentenced to death for the aggravated murder of Sierah Joughin.
So after Sierra's passing, there were several community-type events that happened. The Joughin for Joughin was a 5K run to raise money for the Sierah Joughin Memorial Scholarship Fund. There was also a Take Back the Roads memorial walk in honor of Sierra. And of course, Sierra's Law, which went into effect on December 6, 2018. So this bill, named Sierra's Law, it creates a searchable database of felons convicted of certain violent crimes. The law requires offenders convicted of specified violent crimes to enroll in a database for 10 years after their release from confinement. It also allows law enforcement and residents to identify felons in their area. All of these things, if this was in place prior to Sierra's passing, her life very well may have been spared. Rest in paradise, Sierra.
This town's so quiet this time of year, with a road that's coming back again, coming back to